This is Bear Loves Film, and I'm Bear Clark, and I want to look at Deadpool today, which I think is quite timely with Deadpool 2 just around the corner. Now, Deadpool was something of a sensation, brilliantly timed to come out in February, in Valentine's Day, almost make it look like a date-type movie, and there was an awful lot of history, obviously, with Deadpool because the butchery that Fox did with the character when they did it in the Wolverine film. So the idea of Deadpool coming back was probably not that much of interest to general comic book fans who didn't know him very well, and was probably a worrisome thing for the genuine Deadpool fans. But what we got was the merc with the mouth. What we got was a film that cost something like, I don't know, $53 million to make, and made $783 million worldwide. A phenomenal success. Now, some of that success is based on the appetite for superhero movies, obviously with Marvel killing it in the cinema, DC trying as well, bringing things along. We've had a few attempts at Fantastic Four, but pretty dire. But generally speaking, people are open to the idea of superhero movies. So when we had a superhero movie with this rating, that got a lot of interest. But what was amazing with this film, I think, is it really showed the power of word of mouth, because there really wasn't that much advertising in the run-up to the film. It kind of almost came out of nowhere because it had such a low budget, and it got such a huge word of mouth that it spread like wildfire. People just had to see this movie. People came back and said, "You've got to see this movie, come with me, I'm going to see it again, come and see it, you'll love it." And they did it in droves. Now, Ryan Reynolds he's a hell of a dude. He is he's managed to bring his sort of personality into the Deadpool character, and the way we got introduced to him as somebody who was a wisecracking low-level mercenary who basically, dated a prostitute who then fell in love with her and they made a life together. And and for me, one of the funniest scenes was when they were going through the various different national and world holidays and within their sexual love life, and I'll never forget the look on Ryan Reynolds' face when it was International Women's Day. Yeah, that's that was classic. The writing behind there and the way it was played was perfect. So Deadpool, we have a character who is amazingly kick-ass. It gives you all the sort of thrills of the type of a John Wick type of revenge type thriller, with a lot of humour, some of it very, very crude, and some really clever in-house type nods and jokes. I mean, if you've seen the film, and hopefully you have, who could possibly forget when Deadpool is being dragged along the floor and being told he's going to be taken back to Professor X, and he's like, is that the Patrick Stewart or the other one, because these timelines are confusing. That was amazing. What an amazing gag that was. The visuals were, considering the budget, were extremely good. The costume looked great. The camera angles were so clever, from the obvious crotch shots whenever they got the chance to the way that the fighting and the chase scenes were filmed, worked perfectly. It was a real synergy of somebody who actually genuinely loved the character and wanted to do its service the way it was in the comics, to do justice to the fans who loved the character, with capitalising on the love of comic book movies. Now, Morena Baccarin, as Vanessa, she was perfect for the role. Now, I hadn't seen her in anything apart from Serenity, and I love Serenity and Firefly. If you haven't seen the science fiction series Firefly, you really should. If you just can't get your head around by watching a box set of a whole series, if you want to watch one film, watch Serenity. Serenity is definitely in my top 10 films of all time. I absolutely adore that film, and one of the things I noticed when I watched Serenity the very first time was how beautiful this woman was. She actually plays a sort of high-class prostitute in that as well, but she carries herself with assuredness. And I love in Deadpool as well that, yes, she's the damsel in distress because she needs rescuing, but she's a tough chick. She knows the world. She knows herself. She's not just a Donny Bird victim, and I like that. Now, on the negative side, we've got extremely bland, generic villain. I mean, we should at least be grateful it's not a CGI monster mess like a lot of ones are, but he had no real essence to him, so I'm looking forward to Deadpool 2, and I'm hoping that Cable is going to present a much more 3D sort of character, a much stronger foil to Deadpool's abilities and his sassy behaviour. So if you haven't seen Deadpool yet, and I'm sure there's a few people on the planet that haven't, I suggest you do. It's not the sort of film to watch with your mother and your grandparents, because it is very rude and quite violent in places, but it is a tour de force for a comic book which isn't looking to be another Marvel. It's not trying to be another Iron Man or another Captain America. It's his own entity. So very much like Logan managed to break the mold with Wolverine's final swan song, this is a film which is a real celebration of the other side of comic books, you know, the darker side, the graphic novel sort of side of things, rather than the slightly lighter, fluffier sort of enjoyable Marvel things. So I would say if you haven't seen this, you definitely should. If you haven't seen it for a while, you should definitely watch it again in the run up to Deadpool 2. It's one of my favourite comic book movies over the years, and it definitely for me gets a well-deserved A-. What did you think about it? Did you enjoy it? Was the humour too vulgar? Do you think that it's lightning in a bottle, that the first film was so great and caught the imagination and the word of mouth, but the second one can't possibly follow up? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.